Okay. Hello, welcome to another episode of Unscripted with your host, Mikey.
And Danny,
Yay!
ooh,
So today we have a couple of interesting topics that we wanted to touch upon, which is, all interconnected, which is what does it mean to live a low stress life? And at what point does that cost us growth? And when does that comfort of, living a low stress life turn into stagnation? And is it possible to live said low stress life without stagnating? Here's some interesting topics. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, well, is it a universally acknowledged truth, first of all, that you need pressure in order to thrive as a human
hmm,
being, like flourish as a human being? Because I
mm,
feel like for me, it's kind of like the thing that I've been raised to believe in, but
hmm
I don't know if that's true.
hmm Yeah, I definitely feel like it depends on the type of pressure that's put on you because I think socially we're kind of conditioned to, like do well academically, XYZ, which, with the expectation that it opens up opportunities like career-wise, but it also costs us, I guess, like, our stress and also what we actually find to be important in our lives. So I
Hmm.
think, I don't know, lately there's a lot of talk about stagnation, whether it be in one's personal life or in one's career. But yeah, I think, I don't know, a certain level of pressure, I think, might be required to get one out of, such state of stagnation, but I don't think that, it's applicable in every scenario per se. Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, House of Cards popped into mind.
Ooh.
Kevin Spacey's characters in the first episode, he's like,
Mhm.
I Googled his quote. He said, there's two kinds of pain, the sort of pain that makes you strong or useless pain, which is the sort of pain that's only suffering. I have no patience for useless things. And then he analyzed the dog that was like, I guess, suffering in front of him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang.
Yeah, it's a very pragmatic sort of outlook on life.
Mhm.
I wanna yeah, it's Machiavellian,
Mm.
um,
Mm.
one some would say.
Mhm.
I guess it's like focused on taking action to remove obstacles,
Mhm.
and a disdain for weakness or inaction.
Mm. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with the point that throughout, our lives we need to be doing something. Because I think like that the low stress, or I guess like you can still have low stress without really overdoing it, right? Like you can still be doing something and not be horrendously stressed out.
yeah,
But just stressed out just enough to keep yourself, I guess, going.
yeah,
But I guess it all goes back to the question of like what keeps you going? Like what keeps you, yeah, moving, right? Like throughout life without staying put in one, without feeling stuck. How about that?
yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, what was I gonna say? I agree.
mhm,
Um, I agree. I think there's an element of mindfulness
mm,
that I think is important in sort of doing what you're doing to be able to constantly check in and to kind of constantly be evaluating, is this the right thing that I should be doing?
mhm,
And to constantly also take in information and absorb that and use that to then inform your next steps.
mhm,
Um, yeah, I think that's important.
mhm,
I think the good thing is, we live in a society today where we have tools where we can sort of um, we can use additional information from all different sources to kind of help better inform our decision making.
mm. Yeah, for sure. I
I'm
think
sure in the
there.
past, yeah, there's been a lot of instances of people reinventing. I guess there's still the cases of like people uh reenacting kind of like poor choices or whatever, but
Mm, mm, mm,
um I feel like it's maybe a little bit better today because go online and
Hmm.
ask an AI if what you're doing is the right thing.
I guess, yeah, yeah. Right. But I guess there's also the aspect of like how do you trust like the AI, like whether or not it's serving your best interests and whatnot, and how do you as
Yeah.
an individual evaluate whether that decision is good or poor? I think that also is up for debate as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
guess it's part of it is like part of that constant check-in with yourself.
mhm,
Like, are you feeling like this is the best decision for you, or do you feel
mhm,
like, things are not getting better in the way that you want it to be?
mhm,
Yeah, I mean, having your own set of benchmarks, and I
mhm,
guess it doesn't necessarily mean that these benchmarks have to stay constantly the same, or
mhm,
not benchmarks, but like I guess like more like targets or goals.
mhm.
Having a clear set of targets or goals, I think, is also helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I think, as for the topic, for the record, we used AI to help us come up with ideas for this discussion. But anyway, I was going to say, yeah, as for the topic of like designing a low stress life, I don't know. I feel like there's some people who really do tolerate stress very well and they kind of need it to keep them going. So it's like, what is the need for said low stress life if, you're not already living a super stressful life? Or if you are, maybe that's where that need comes from for a life that is less stressful than the one that you're um, existing in right now, which I think is basically kind of the search for equilibrium, the search for balance, where if you already are living a really stressful life, you're searching for something less than, and vice versa. Maybe you're a little bit too bored of the life that you're living in right now, and you want something that's more stimulating and a bit more engaging. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I think, lifestyle is up for to a certain extent. It is within our control to design it, to think intentionally about. But yeah, I think another aspect is what kind of circumstances do you find yourself in right now, and what can you do to change it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions around like what causes stress, like what is your target? What does the peaceful life look like for you?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, here's some
Yeah.
really interesting bullets.
Sure.
I asked our assistant to generate.
Yes. Sure.
Um, yeah, I mean, foundational premise is what actually causes stress. Is it financial, social,
Mm,
psychological? And also, it's important to differentiate between distinct kinds of stress: acute stress versus chronic stress, like life misalignment, and different types of stress being fear of like mistakes, fear of poverty, fear of judgment. How much of
mm,
that is external or self-imposed? Where does that
mhm.
come from?
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Mm.
a lot of good questions. I mean, not so easy to answer also.
No, but I think
Um,
having or opening up this discussion in itself is a way for us to explore some of these ideas because I do think that a lot of these fears of failure, mistakes, poverty, they're all, I think, fears that kind of exist in the back of our minds to whether it, like, to a certain extent, depending on how severe your situation or your circumstances are, be it
yeah,
financial or personal. But yeah, I think I don't know, it can be scary for, you to wonder, I think like, oh, where is my next paycheck going to come from if, for example, if you don't have like a portfolio of, I don't know, assets that can pay passive income when you're retired. And it's like, there's a lot of fears that I think are warranted given the way that society is currently structured and we're all navigating this with different initial conditions, so to speak. But I think, yeah. Um, how do we frame it in a way that doesn't make us feel cynical and distrustful of other people? And how do we move forward, um, and live with dignity, I guess, is one way to put it. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, and also, I guess there should be some thinking around like, okay, like maybe you're in the process of identifying your stressors, like where it's
Mhm.
coming from.
Right.
But part of it is also like, what is what are some of the things that you can control versus what are some of the things that you cannot.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because there's certain things that you just cannot control, like,
Mhm.
your genetics, the people
Mhm.
around you in the short term at least.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's maybe you have to work a job because I mean, you cannot I mean, you need a source of income, and that's like not
Mhm.
at least I guess it's also one of the things like in the short term that can't be changed.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
but yeah, I think like learning to deal with things that are unchangeable,
Mhm.
at least in the short term, is also important.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah. I think there are a lot of moments like that, of, I guess, like early career uncertainty and also just like quarter life crisis, and whatnot that I've
yes.
also gone through myself as well, where I grappled with a lot of these questions of like, oh my God, like what if I am perpetually dissatisfied with, what I'm doing? And what if I, because of that, like am never able to like, I don't know, live a fulfilled life? These questions, right? That I think,
Yeah.
you know, so some people think of it about it more consciously, others just kind of let it linger like in the back of their heads. And I think for me, it really, there was a point in time when, it really, all these questions came crashing down and I really wanted to
Yeah.
have everything figured out. But I think part of the journey is not knowing and accepting that it's okay to not know and have trust that you will find a way forward, regardless of, how fearful or how irrational you might be
Yeah.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, could I propose an exercise for both of us?
Sure.
Um, it's called the ideal day exercise.
Okay.
So we'll both describe our perfect Tuesday. It's not a vacation day, it's just a perfect Tuesday,
Perfect
like a
Tuesday.
normal, like an average work day.
Okay. Yeah.
Specifically, a couple parameters: the wake up
Hmm.
time, the work hours, the meals, exercise, social
Interesting.
interaction, screen
Okay.
time, and bedtime.
Ooh, I think this is a really interesting proposal because I think just by describing what you want out of a perfect or ideal day, you
Yeah.
really identify and highlight what is important to you and how you want to live your life, day by day, which is, I guess, the
Mhm.
units, the building blocks of, our lived experiences. So, yeah. Do you want to start or?
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
This may change also. This is like just the
Sure.
first
Of
draft,
course.
so I don't
Yeah.
know if this is. And I feel like it's already changed because immediately I was like, oh, I just want to be like super wealthy and just not work. But then
Mhm.
it's like, it's that'd be kind of boring too.
Yeah.
Wake up time, I guess I would say maybe like 8 or 9 because I'm not a morning person. Yeah, I think I'm more of a night owl. So maybe
Yeah.
8 or 9.
Mhm.
Work hours. For now, I'm gonna say 9 to no, you know what? I'm gonna say 10 to 2.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's very fair. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's like 4 hours a day. That's like a part-time job.
Sure.
Meals, for I guess for breakfast, like a health. Well, I guess the common theme is like healthy, high protein, plant-based,
Uh-huh.
clean,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, hypertrophy focused,
Okay. Okay.
longevity focused. Think
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson, but maybe a little bit tastier.
Sure.
Um, and then exercise, probably like daily, maybe like early in the morning, maybe right after I wake up or right after I finish my 4 hours of work.
Mm-hmm.
Social interaction, I don't know, probably like after I finish my work and my workout. And then screen time, I mean, just maybe during the duration of my work and
Mm-hmm.
preferably not after, although, movie before bed would be nice. And then bedtime, when would I like to go to sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like 10 or 11,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 10.
Okay.
I'll try to be healthy.
For sure. I mean, 10
What's
to
your,
like 8 or like 11 to 8, I think is like a good 9 hours, which is reasonable.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mm.
Okay, you next.
Ooh, how about I start with the reverse? And I would say that, like starting from nighttime, I would probably start with probably bedtime of like 11 or midnight because I feel like that's what naturally feels right for my body. Ideally at that time, I would not have any screen like nearby, and ideally in a situation where I will be thinking about even reaching for my phone. Or just to like have another practice that keeps me occupied at night. For instance, journaling, which I have
Mm.
been keeping up with lately, without the presence of my phone. So I feel like that kind of would be the setup for like an ideal morning, like on a Tuesday, for instance. Wake up hours, probably if I sleep at midnight, probably 8 or 9, so similar to you. Um, or 9 or 10. I don't really, yeah, depends on whatever my body needs because I know every single day that varies from time to time depending on how exhausted I am. But yeah, waking up at yeah, 8 or 9, I think in an ideal world, I would have the energy to really make or decide like to make like a super high fiber, high protein, nutritious breakfast that is ideally not sweet. So like something savory,
Oh,
something
interesting.
tasty.
Okay.
Yeah, it could also be leftovers from the night before that, also is nutritious as well. And then I probably would head to the gym. Or not even the gym. Like, I feel like gymming has been such an individualistic activity nowadays, whereas in the past, I think exercising has been a community-oriented thing. So I feel
Mm.
like, I don't know, maybe like badminton or like tennis or like something that it doesn't have to be those. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
really
yeah.
like, yeah, but something that
Communal.
gets me, yeah, something that gets me
Yeah.
engaged with people around me. Yeah, with like where I feel like a genuine connection with other people,
Wait, when
then
is this, by the way? Is this right after you wake up or?
this would be after I wake up and eat breakfast. Mhm.
Okay, got it. So we're
And then,
talking like
yeah,
10-ish, 10 a.m.-ish.
10 a.m.-ish. And then like work hours, I would say like I want to just be able to do work on my own time, not necessarily get paid hourly, but rather like a different valuation model where I get paid like depending on how much I guess society values my contributions, which is like one way of like, for example, like if you for example, publishing a book that is inspiring or influential and that, pays
Mm.
royalties, like that's like sure, like passive income, but it is also a representation of the value that I bring to society. So I think like having that egalitarian slash like autonomous mindset of like towards work, like where every single day it might be a
Mhm.
different amount of effort, but still like towards it's still oriented towards this mission of something that matters to both myself and other people. I think that is important. So like, work hours could be like I don't know, like you said, like 10 to 2, or like I could be working the whole day, but as long as I feel like I'm engaged with something meaningful and fulfilling, I think that's like all that matters in that
Oh,
sense for that particular day.
that's a good point.
There we
Yeah.
go.
No, I like
So,
that.
yeah, okay, okay. So, like a
Uh,
typical 9 to 5, I think is structured such that, like you're probably not working the entire time, but it's still like creating the maximum probability that you're going to create something that is productive, that is like valuable. But I think like that model of work is, I don't think it's really functional, at least like for me, or I think a good chunk of people in today's society. So I think, yeah,
mm,
I think work hours could vary from day to day as long as I feel like the contribution is fulfilling and meaningful. And yeah, or just like having the autonomy and the flexibility to just kind of do whatever, not whatever, whenever I want, but also doing whatever whenever I want. Yeah,
mm.
so that would be
Yeah.
that for like a good chunk of the afternoon. And then maybe for dinner, like I'd be inviting a couple of friends over to cook something, assuming, we all have the bandwidth to do so. Make dinner, chat, or like grab dinner elsewhere. I think as long as the element of connection and having like, I don't know, fulfilling conversations is there. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, at night, I think obviously it depends on whether it's a Friday night or like a Tuesday night. But I think, after dinner, it'd be nice to just chill, read something that, gives me a different take on life, on society, on my own, I don't know, perspective and interpretation of the world, and then sleep on it and then repeat. So that's kind of my little
Yeah.
breakdown of what I
Mm.
would want, I think, out of a day. And I think having that would be just enough.
Mm. That's great. No,
Yeah.
yeah. That definitely, yeah, a lot of that definitely resonated with me. I like the idea of being able to work, kind of choose your own hours effectively.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because if you care about something, you will put effort into it. And it's not
yeah,
like you won't have this fear of like, oh, like if I could choose my own hours, I wouldn't know what to do. Because I think that assumes that you're letting the outside determine what you want to do, versus the other way around, where you're doing something that you care about. Therefore, you do feel motivated to put in effort and to do,
a good
yeah,
job.
right, a good job, because
Yeah,
you have a personal responsibility. It is your own liability. It is your own investment, so to speak, rather than someone else paying you to do something that is in alignment with their values, which I think, it goes both ways. I'm not demonizing like one or the other, but I think, yeah, this way of thinking, I think, might help. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, very, very valid. Um, I'm also curious, to do a little bit of a multiple choice question
sure.
session.
Hmm.
Okay, so question one.
Hmm.
Would you rather earn 120K stress-free or 250K but high stress?
Well,
Like what's the threshold for like high stress?
I have friends that probably are living examples of both, financial situations. I have one friend who works in private equity, probably makes like, on the upper end of like 300 to like probably like 300K to 500K, something like around that range.
Hmm.
And they're living basically like super high stress lives, drinking a lot, kind of like, I don't know how they manage their stress or their anger, but it's most likely through alcohol.
Hmm.
um, but there are also other friends who probably make the same amount, in a less stressful position or a less stressful role, but they're still being compensated the same amount. So, to your point of like making a third of that, or maybe like 120 versus like 250, just like as like numbers, I think, I don't know. I think either way, like as long as you're doing something that feels meaningful to you personally, like sure, you might be living a high stress life, but if it is like contributing to this mission of like, um I'm really stressed out, but I am doing something that's important to me, then I think that's just perfectly justifiable. But as long as you're careful of like, you're not compromising on your other values, such as like healthy living and XYZ, because there are certain ways of living that can be in direct contradiction with what you find to be important. So, for example, like if I'm making $250,000 a year and I'm like tearing my hair out, is that really like the best choice for my health? No, there's
Yeah,
no equilibrium there.
it's
However, if
definitely bad for your scalp.
right, bad for your scalp, bad for your liver if you are like someone who is prone to drinking, right? Whereas if you're
Yeah.
making 120K, say in a super high cost of living area, like Manhattan, and you're not really like all that stressed out, then I think you do have bandwidth, like mentally, that saves like it's obviously enough to live on, right?
Mhm.
And in some cases, it can be more than enough, depending on what you want to do,
Yeah.
with those resources.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, what the implicit like cost that you, or the opportunity costs that you're giving up on, with choosing the 250K job with super high stress, is the mental bandwidth, to be able to think
Mm.
about these questions of what's important to you and what you want to do. Because sometimes like, you're not 100% in control of that like all the time. And I
Mhm.
think, yeah, so I think personally, I would prefer like the, 120K job with like low stress, because I have friends that work in tech that are basically doing that. Obviously, they're still like scared about layoffs and whatnot with like incoming, AI taking
Mhm.
away, their jobs and whatnot. But I think it still boils down to like, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? What's important to you? You still, these decisions you will still have to make regardless of how much money that you make. And I don't think having more money makes that decision any easier. And you also need the bandwidth and the space to be able to think about that before you, yeah, decide. So that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I initially was just like gonna flat like align with the 120K side, but now that you say that, I mean, no, I think these are very valid points. Like it's really about understanding your stress profile. Like what does that look like, and what
Yeah.
kinds of stress are you okay with
Hmm.
versus the kinds of stress that you are not. Like for me, I think I'd be okay with handling some stress if it was with around work, if it was with a group of people that I really liked, that I really got along with. And
Hmm.
the stress didn't come from, the interpersonal relationships at work, more around the like challenges of maybe getting a huge project done. And maybe that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
stress is like, enjoyable. Whereas and I've worked on many teams where like the people are just
Hmm.
something.
Right.
And the kind of stress from that is just very unpleasant. Like, when the relationships are not, and sometimes I don't even think it's relationships. I think it's just like human chemistry. I
Yeah.
do believe that,
Yeah.
there's, we don't need a fully connected world. Like there is
Yeah.
value in having the right kind of boundaries with certain types of people, personalities, outlooks in life. So yeah, I think it's really about understanding your stress profile and recognizing that it's multidimensional. It's not just a sliding scale, a
Yeah.
one-dimensional sliding scale. Is a line of 1D? It is, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah. Remembering that book, Flatland.
I haven't read it. What is it about?
Oh, it's about this journey into like a 1D universe versus like a 2D universe. It's supposed to be a satire of like Victorian era, I think, a Victorian era England.
Mm,
Um, yeah, it's
yeah.
quite funny. Highly
Yeah.
recommend.
Dang. Okay.
It's a good
Well,
math book.
yeah. But anyway,
Okay.
back to the larger discussion.
Yes. Okay, wait. I have another
Sure.
question.
Go ahead.
Multiple choice. Would you retire at 40 modestly or retire at 55 luxuriously?
45 modestly or 55 luxuriously. I think it depends on how I'm feeling at age 45. If I feel like I can keep going,
40, age
then
40.
age 40, if I feel like at age 40 I can keep going, then yeah, like if I'm already enjoying what I'm doing and I do have the option to retire, I don't think I would because if I'm already doing something that matters to me, I'll just keep going.
Hmm.
And then until I reach 55, like, and I do have the option to live luxuriously, then so be it, right? But if I'm really, really like in a position where I don't like what I'm doing anymore, and I don't feel like I have the energy to go on, um, then I think retiring or even honestly taking a career break at age 40 is probably beneficial because I don't think that retirement necessarily like necessitates like a permanent like removal of yourself from the workforce, right? I think you can
Yes.
still find ways to feel like you can contribute, which I think,
Yeah.
the idea of a mini retirement or just like these little breaks like throughout your career to get you to like introspect is really important. So I think, yeah, I can think about this as different scenarios. If I'm already very like burnt out and dissatisfied with like my career, then sure, I'll take the
Hmm.
retirement at 40, like modestly, because that is an option that is available. But if I am in a scenario where the work is fulfilling and I'm still doing something that feels personally meaningful and it still feels like I can contribute and I still have the energy to like, help other people improve their lives and make my own life better as well, then sure, like I'll keep going until 55, where I guess I would, in theory, have more assets to retire more luxuriously. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed, but yeah.
Hmm.
So I think of
Yeah.
it as a conditional.
I know. That's a good question. I mean, there's so many factors. Probably would just like, I personally probably just assess my situation at 40 and just be like,
Yeah, which
what's it
is right.
looking? Yeah.
What's it looking
Yeah.
like?
What's it
And
looking like?
can I retire on my portfolio? And sure, like the 4% rule says like I can last 30 years, but like God knows, right? Like,
I know. I know.
right? So I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
lots of
like,
uncertainty.
yeah, what's fueling a lot of, I don't know, yeah,
I know. There's that.
bubbles.
There was that, wait, okay. So on Bloomberg, there was this talk about this article that came out recently, this controversial article that said that like once AI takes over, the stock market will um is implode the right word? It'll crash effectively.
mhm,
Because GDP is characterized by consumption,
mhm,
by the end consumer purchasing things.
mhm,
And
right.
AI productivity does not, they don't believe that it'll translate into end users buying, like consumers buying more things, that it'll
Mhm,
just mean that a lot of people are out of jobs and they're super poor and they can't buy anything.
mhm.
And so GDP will reduce dramatically even as productivity increases substantively.
Ooh, that's a really interesting point because I think lately, another buzzword in the media is like the K-shaped economy. Everybody's been
Oh
like, not
yeah.
everybody's been talking about this, but it's like the middle class and the impoverished are like getting poorer and poorer versus like I think the top 1% account for more than half of like GDP output, like
I
because
thought it
they're the
would be
ones
like
spending.
M because it's like actually
Mhm.
no, maybe K is right.
Yeah.
Because it's two lines. Okay,
It's
I
two
get
lines. It's two lines that
it.
like, are it's a two-pronged line. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
that
I thought it would be M because it's like, you have like there's no middle class. There's like just the poor or the just the rich.
which I guess if you rotate the M like 90 degrees, it's a K. I don't know how they come up with this term, but
But
like
it's not about
it's
the number of people. It's more
yeah,
about
yeah.
the expenditures
The expenditures,
by
which
the
right
lower half versus
now,
the upper half
yeah,
or upper quadrant or upper 1%. What I mean, whatever percentages.
there's a video by like More Perfect Union that talked about like Las Vegas is now catering to like both Las Vegas, like airlines, every, you know, industry is now catering to like the upper class because it's like they would rather make $20,000 from one like person rather than like make $1,000 from but possibly 20 people, right? So it's like
Yeah.
this new logic of like, okay, we're only going to cater to the wealthier people because it's more profitable to do so, blah blah blah. But back to the I think original topic, what were we talking about? Oops.
Well, stress-free life. But okay, this is a
Yeah,
big question that I have. What
yeah.
is how much money do you need to be part of the like the line that's going up and not the line that's going down?
I think that's debatable because I think it really depends on, I don't know, like, do you feel like you have enough to spend, like, and contribute to GDP, so to speak, or this like huge figure, to be able to subsist, if not thrive, right? And if you don't feel like you can thrive with your current expenditures and you feel like you constantly have to cut back, then I think that more likely than not, you're part of which I think is the majority of people anyway.
Okay,
Like,
I asked ChatGPT.
yeah.
According to them, the clear upward leg is 500K and above in net worth.
In net worth.
So
Okay.
y'all, like, if you're trying to get a 500K and
Yikes.
above,
Yikes. Okay. I mean, obviously, like, there are people who are working towards like that. And there are also people who are, getting screwed over by loan sharks and
yeah.
high interest rate debt, which I think, we don't live in a fair society, at least here
I
in
mean,
America.
this is like a simulation response, by the way, so don't take it
Don't take this. But yeah,
serious.
good God. Wow. Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. We do have less than a minute, so I
we
feel like we wrap
do.
this up.
Well,
We'll
yeah.
continue tomorrow.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us what, your thoughts are. But
Tell us your
anyway,
thoughts are about the K economy. Yes.
yeah. All right. Take care.